Thanks for being with us today here on the Wonder Files. This is the podcast where you come to hear exciting and sensitive and inspiring kinds of stories from the created order. It won't just be people, but today it's people, and we are lucky to have with us today Rosalva Parada. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today, Rosalva. Let me tell you just a little bit about Rosalva. She's an amazing person, lives in Tucson, Arizona, and was born here, in fact, and we are recording in Tucson, Arizona today. She's a Tucson native. She got a degree from the U of A in history and classics and summa cum laude. Uh, she's explored culinary arts and native seeds and has been a Phi Beta Kappa since 2003. And she does an amazing amount of free work, volunteer work around the community with all kinds of people and gatherings. And I kidded her a little bit about, well, what actually pays your bills? And if she does have a job, you'll wonder too. So anyway, welcome, Rosalva. So glad you're with us here today. Um, you seem to sense wonder in our several conversations over time. You seem to sense wonder in unexpected places, places that I might not look for them or even expect to bump into them. Um, and yet you do, and you actually seem to respond to things that occur out of context. Like one time told me you were in a parking lot, I guess going to your car, and a stranger, a woman, came up to you and said you should be singing, and you have no background in singing, and so you didn't understand that, but it didn't stop you. And another time was you had a dream, kind of pointing to a direction, and I think other people may have things like this happen to them, but the difference in my experience is for you is that you actually pay attention to them and see where they might lead you. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes, very much so. The dream came before the meeting of the lady in the parking lot. The dream came when I was around a teenager and trying to figure out what I wanted to be in life. And I had in my mind things like I want to be a neurologist, I want to study medicine. And I had a lot of difficulty with my health, and I had a lot of issues with an autoimmune disease called lupus. And so that dream really shifted my life because when I experienced um, a love that was so different than what I had ever thought my senses could put together in life. And it was so profound and so fulfilling and felt so eternal that when I woke up, I was just ecstatic. And I was telling my mom, I had this amazing dream, and it was this love that was just so different. It wasn't like anything I had ever thought of or felt or could imagine or and it gave me a sense that eternity was something so different than what I had ever thought of. It just fulfilled so much that that filled time, and it shifted my whole idea of how time worked and what eternity was like. And then from then I thought, well, I feel so sure that what I want to do with my life is be able to extend 1 second of this feeling to anybody. If I'm able to do that, then I will fulfill what my heart really is longing for. It won't have to be, oh, I have to be a neurologist. I have to be a historian. I have to be this or that. I felt so sure that what I needed to be was beyond a profession. It just felt uh, a calling that could exist in any profession. And so that really changed
Mhm.
the way that then I proceeded through life and went on to study things like classics, linguistics, languages, and then on to culinary school and music and different things. It just has led me in unique paths that have been so fulfilling. Eventually, to somebody hearing me sing in a parking lot and say, "Wow, you should be singing," and I thought, "Oh, what could that mean and what could I do about it and how would I pursue that?" And me at first thinking, oh, I'm too shy to sing, and but feeling that it was something really alive and necessary for me to find out what it was about.
In this, and then the woman in the parking lot, that was how long was that after, do you think, that you had the dream?
It must have been about 10 years after I had the dream.
Okay. And maybe I just missed it and our listeners got it. I hope so. If not, if they didn't get it, they're going to get it now because I'm going to ask. Tell me just, I know it's a dream, so there's no real rules about dreams and how they go from, United States to Mars and everywhere else. You can be all over the map, literally. But was there kind of a storyline? Was there kind of a theme that, that you could kind of say that's because it changed your life. It seems it changed your life or it brought your life to a kind of fruition. So help us out with that a bit.
Well, I think I've had maybe around four dreams like that in my life that have felt really distinct from the regular dreams that I have every night because so often I have a lot of um, dreams about curious things in life and different experiences, but they feel very distinct when there's something that just feels like it awakens every cell in your body. And this dream was one like that. And it was at a time when the doctors were thinking that they weren't sure what I had and they were trying to figure that out. And I felt uncertain about what was it that I had, if it was lupus or they thought maybe it was something like leukemia or something different. And so I was in that process of not knowing. And in the dream, I felt almost like um I woke up into the dream, and and it was different than all my dreams because it wasn't a dream that I could see into, and I wasn't looking into anything visually. I was just kind of had this like lavenderish color, like I don't know, this purplish pink thing that was all around me. And I looked around and it was like there was nothing but that. And all of a sudden I felt something approach from behind me. Like it was just so comforting and so enveloping and so uh, just present and so different than what I had thought of in life and awake. Like, what does it mean to to be present and alive and feel things? And all of a sudden, I just felt like, wow, this is just beyond what my senses are have ever known to handle input. And I think it made me also very attuned into my senses.
Mhm. So you went from these dreams, and that appear to, I'm getting the sense from what you're saying there, Rosalva, that they come upon you without notice. When you have it, you have it, and it's a kind of a reawakening of the earlier feelings that there is purpose and focus to something in your life, and your discernment. Your job is to figure out what that is, and in cooperation with it. Um, let's talk about singing. Now, you've done a lot of different volunteer activities and some, some kind of paid jobs and things like that. But your volunteer activities, the current one now, is where the singing comes to fruition. And let's talk about what it is you're doing and where the wonder is in that, for not just for you, but also for others who are participating.
So the singing is, I participate about 3 to 4 times a week singing at memory care and assisted living with probably a total of 80 residents every week. And they we gather together and I sing for them, and some songs they sing with me, about 14 songs each time that I've prepared in a playlist that in all the span of time that I've had with them, I feel is what best gives us access to each other and the music that reaches us and connects us. And I feel it has been a really um, healing experience for me to experience people in such a an interesting moment and beautiful moment of their lives, and how even if they're suffering through uh, like mental uh, issues, the deterioration of memory, and all of those different aspects, I think it's given me a moment to witness how um, present and receptive and beautiful souls they are. And I think that has been something that has been as healing for me as it is for them, and how much I enjoy that each time that we have those meetings. When I leave, I feel so much their warmth, their joy. They're closer to each other. Um, and just by going through the music, and I love what how music taps into us in different ways that sometimes our mind might want to override, and it reaches kind of in the way that dreams do, through
Mm.
different that we aren't sure um, we've opened or how where they are, and all of a sudden there's something beautiful.
That's a wonderful story. Now, these 14 songs, they're this, you go several places throughout a week, or you go to one place several times. That's what I'm trying to understand. But the 14 songs, they all get the same songs in a week, right? Or this is 13, 14 songs each time you go. So maybe they'll start to respond to them from memory, more recent memory. So are these songs from their past, the rock and roll years or the big band era, or what are you offering to them?
Well, neurologists have studied and have found that the music from their teenage years is what is most
Hmm.
going to be able to work in them and produce more emotional and connections. And the the groups that I'm going to have a varied age from about 60 to a little past 100 sometimes. And so I can't exactly find when they were all teenagers together. So I put a playlist that is unique to them each time, and I have it as a guideline because sometimes I even move myself around in the playlist, seeing how they are uh, feeling and responding. Sometimes how I put the playlist together is a little different than how I see them. And if something feels like I need to continue a place where they're happy, then I'll go and extend that. But I have found that music from musicals, opera, art songs, different languages, and very much lullabies from around the world are really mm, useful in connecting with them and engaging them. And so that has been just a really neat journey, and using new music that I'm sure they have never heard of, and hearing it through the weeks. It's really fascinating to see rhythm and different aspects of the music um, start getting incorporated and received by them.
So how do they communicate interest, or are they tapping their toes? Are they singing words or humming with the tune or smiling? And how is it? Because I would imagine in memory here we have some communication loss. How is it that you read their happiness?
Well, there are different ways, but one of the ways I often ask them to sing along with me, and sometimes when I get that, I get a different layer of engagement, and they'll move their mouths and mirror what I am doing, even if they aren't singing, but I know they're connecting to the way that I'm moving. Um, one of the ways I see is that I see their faces light up. And that is one of the ways I sense that this music is agreeable and pleasant and a good experience. Sometimes I'll have folks who never ever say anything and communicate verbally really little, and they will sing an entire song with me and know all the lyrics better than I do. So I know that that is a moment where they feel very connected. And then other times I've had songs when I've doubted myself, thinking, is this song perhaps too sad, or and I shouldn't include it in the list. And I've been so surprised because I've had folks who never say anything about a song, and with certain songs that I thought were sad, they, for the first time, I hear their voices and they tell me that was beautiful.
So sad songs. Do you kind of cover the genres of music? I mean, rock and roll and classical, and do you do any country western, any gospel? You kind of mix it up to see what's wanting to be heard.
Yes, because I'll have folks come up to me and give me requests, and it'll go from Elvis to Puccini. And so I think, well, how do we bridge that? And how do I build a repertoire to include all kinds of music? And I search and I'm open always to hear things from all kinds of genres, and things that I feel, if if I can find why they're so um, beautiful and there's something compelling about them, then I feel I have that chance to share that for them.
Hmm. That's amazing. How do you now? You mentioned hacienda at the river. Do you go elsewhere with this offering?
Yes, so I go to Hacienda at the river, Hacienda at the canyon. I go to St. Luke's. I go to different atrias, to a Redwood retirement, and to different events.
Mm.
Um, as
St. Luke's is like a retirement home. Okay, I thought it was. So now to those who are listening or watching this, you now understand why I wonder when she might ever work a job. That's an amazing amount of free offering of your not just your skills, Rosalva, but your heart and soul. And it's an amazing offering. And so, is this something? Do you think that have you thought about have dreams or anything else kind of pointed you to a future where maybe families could be incorporated where they could do some of these things when they come, not necessarily involving you at that point, but that mom and dad are in the maybe the same care home or in at St. Luke's in the same apartment, um, and they to do their own version of this at home. If music is that far reaching, then the location is probably not as important as the music itself and the presentation, which I'm sure is lovely when you do it. What do you think about taking that home?
well, I've noticed that a lot of times the music is a time that also brings the families to be there. So often they'll know that that's a time that I'm going to be there, and so caregivers will stop um, and spend that time with us together. So it expands out. Um, I I know. mm, Well, how do you mean, like, take it home? Or
Well, take it. So I don't know if these folks in the memory care ever go on a home visitation or even if they're just the daughter and son, grandchildren, whatever, are visiting something they could do in the room with them. Maybe it's a time you're not available, or the it's what I'm saying, that they can incorporate in a way to be in touch with their loved one, that the ordinary words and things don't work as well as music.
Well, that was an it's a neat thing with music, and sometimes I think it's difficult for people to think that they can sing, and I think sometimes they're afraid. But I know families, well, these folks kind of don't really. That's their home is there and with each other, and family comes to visit, and then they the folks remain at the places. But I know there are programs where they put together playlists for their loved ones, trying to figure out what songs were most meaningful
Oh, okay.
residents.
Mhm.
And but I I think mostly for most people, they tend to be uh, I don't know, sometimes I think hesitant about thinking that they can sing for their loved ones. And I think I try to share and say, well, sing along or hum or um, anything is just the moment of sharing. And I do realize it takes a little bit of courage to want to sing, but I hope that I encourage that for people to think you can always sing.
Well, very good. And it's also, the kind of thing I'm thinking of, people who may be watching this podcast could say, well, mom's still living with me, but, maybe I can tune up the old, not, it's not a record player anymore, but we don't do radios anymore. What do we do? But anyway, my Spotify list, and I try to put together a list of things and that based on having seen you, on this podcast, um, a list of things that they can play and see what mom likes or dad likes at home. So that your audience is now, by virtue of this podcast and perhaps other things you've done publicly, the it's now out there in the atmosphere, which is part of the work of doing this, is to share these wonderful ideas. Um, so before you met the woman in the parking lot, you didn't do this, and but you've done other things. You've done things with native seeds and some of your culinary work, which is what you thought initially was how you would reach out to some of the residential centers and people who may be living there. Um, so when it worked out that it wasn't culinary, you modified that and went to the singing. Um, tell us a little bit about your culinary experience, and also the your attempts to get what do they call it, heritage plants going again for the local native populations.
Yes, so I was studying classics and history and involved with the Archaeological Institute of America at the U of A. And I was starting a program in museum sciences for a master's. And I started feeling so removed and sort of detached and felt like I was just spending so much time on my thoughts and wanting to connect. And one of the things that I was doing a lot was making cookies with local ingredients and working with local bakers and it I suddenly just felt such a joy of feeling 25 grams of cookie dough in my hand and putting that together for someone, and I felt such a connection of the of this continuity of nourishing people that I felt so drawn to that I thought, wait a minute, I have to go to the Culinary Institute of America and I have to learn how to create food that nourishes people. And so I did that, and then I went to Rome and studied the Sustainable Food Project, and I came back very inspired and doing these healthy inspired treats that I was selling all over town and in Phoenix, and it was just like growing and growing, and they wanted more and more, and I needed a big kitchen and but meanwhile, I was hearing all of these stories about how uh, uh, these kind of older ladies from the hair salon would come and buy all of these treats, and all of a sudden they were like, "All your treats are sold out," because they came and they loved them, and and so when I heard that that hacienda at the river was opening nearby, my idea was that I was going to see how I could help create um, treats for them that and food and different approaches that would be healthier and enjoyable. And um, from then, I was asked if I, Kathy, the director there, said, "Well, would you be interested in singing to them? Here are 60 folks having lunch, and you could sing." And at first, I was super worried about, I had never done that in my life, but I thought, here's an opportunity, and it it really speaks to my soul and to so many other things um, that have been values that I've seen in my family that I felt I must try it.
So singing was definitely going to be in your future based on not just the woman in the parking lot, but this lady here at the residential center. And some things it seems are meant to be, and they just keep inserting themselves in your path. Um, but we're grateful to you for that willingness to look at messages within sometimes contained within a problematic invitation. So, but messages of destiny and direction. And do you have any thoughts about the future? Do you just kind of take it from one step at a time, one impulse, one inspiration at a time, or do you have future things you want to do with the same program or something else that's similar, maybe?
Well, I I think I have such a sense of exploration and within and connectedness and having um, life that is um, tapped by things to feel um, connected to ourselves and community. And I it's often I feel like they are just these beautiful surprises that are always guiding me. Um, and I don't know that it has to be with me that I'm seeking them because I feel they find me. It's about being receptive, I think. Like sometimes when I think, gosh, I would like help because my mom is going through a lot of health things um and I will go spend some time at church by myself, and always I seem to be met by these beautiful um surprises of someone who's just has a really beautiful presence or word shows up, or I see a hummingbird just follow me around, or just different things like open me up to what is um, so full, what is that is in life that is so amazing and beyond what we're all just kind of concentrated in doing things every day. And all of a sudden, if I'm driving and I see a little tiny butterfly going across the road as I'm driving, and I feel like it's just moving in this different sense of time, and like it's opening up to this other dimension, just the way it moves, that it's using just air to navigate, and those things bring a lot of calm into my life, and a sense of wonder and meaning, um, in observing and being uh, open to what inviting to what could what could it be saying to me or helping me be.
You mentioned church, and while we're not an expressly religious program, it bumps up against this all the time. We're spiritual, not religious, on this podcast, and but I know you to be, because I also am a person, a woman of faith, um, in a particular direction, and so in the Christian church world. Um, we might use the phrase Holy Spirit to explain some of these encounters of, not that we explain it in an understandable way, because no one understands the Holy Spirit, but the inspiration might be uh, identified as coming from that source of inspiration. Is that something that you identify with, the Spirit uh, coming to you in that way?
Yes, I feel it is a guiding force, and I feel it is a presence, and I feel it that it that it's present because it just feels like something so amazing, and that it just brings so much. It brings a bit of a shift to where I couldn't have imagined how that would have occurred all on my own. It really feels like something moving me to experience these things and grow, and definitely a presence.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed spending time with you today, Rosalva. And before I go, just tell us one moment. What is your job? What keeps you busy and bringing in the bacon, so to speak, and at your residence? And what is it that you do?
My job is I am an apartment and property management
Mm.
manager and investor, and so I spend a lot of time going to properties and units and helping people out with all kinds of neat disarrays of daily life, and pipes and this and that, and helping them find housing, being happy where they are. Just that that takes up a lot of my day, and doing all the bookkeeping and for all of these properties, and so
That sounds pretty busy keeping, and so it's in a quite a difference from what it is we've been discussing most of this. And it seems to me that the joy that I see on your face, the joy comes more from singing to folks who you know, sometimes are forgotten, sometimes overlooked, certainly undervalued at times, and that's so rich with a gift. And I want to thank you on behalf of the listeners here and myself personally. And thank you for being with us today while we talked with Rosalva Parada of Tucson, Arizona, who has many things that she does in her weekly life. But most of all, she helps people with singing of old tunes and familiar ones. And so it's been a pleasure having you here today. That you are going to keep watching us, hopefully. And from week to week, we'll be finding folks in programs to talk about where there is clearly much to inspire ourselves. And one of the things, a phrase I came up for Rosalva, I wanted to use this at the end so you couldn't deny it. But I describe her as a spiritual and intellectual adventurer. And on that note, we thank you again for being with us today. And until next time, keep wondering.